What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Talks Too Much with Third Party Studios. Thank you guys for tuning into this one. We just walked out of the Napoleon film, and I got some opinions on it. We all got opinions on it, but first off, I want to introduce our guest. We have Dan joining us today, friend of the channel. He's been watching a few of our channels, and he is a kind of a historical buff, kind of a fan of history, as it were. I don't know how else to describe you, except you're kind of smart sometimes.
Sometimes.
All right, but thank you for being here, bud. I really appreciate you hopping on and coming to see the movie with us and being here to give your 2 cents.
Hey, no problem. And thank you for the ticket.
With us, as always, we have the Cody in the left corner.
What's up?
And in the other left corner, we have the Slim.
I'm going rogue today without the red sweatshirt or the camo, so it's...
He's wearing a black sweater this time today, ladies and gentlemen.
Our diversity hire.
I like how he changed up his whole persona by just changing the color of his sweater every
I
episode.
should bring the red sweatshirt back. I'll be back.
So, Napoleon. I haven't seen any reviews come out of that yet. By the time this gets published and goes up, we'll probably see it everywhere. But I guess I want to get everyone else's opinion on this before I weigh in. We've been talking about going to see the Napoleon film and reviewing it since around when The Flash was out.
Shoot, yeah, a couple months ago.
Yeah,
when
so
the
it's
first trailer dropped.
Yeah.
it's been a while.
Didn't we talk about it right when the trailer dropped?
Yeah, we did.
You brought it up right away because you were excited.
Yeah, I think
Cody.
the video was called Napoleon Trailer Reaction. So I think
it
that's
was for sure. I remember that.
And
I didn't even know this movie was being made until the trailer came out.
Yeah, honestly, it feels weird. Like the best laid films are not getting much marketing until the trailers, and then you just get hyped about them. Like I didn't know the Planets of the Apes were getting a new film until like a week or two ago.
We
when
talked
we went
about
to see
that last
the Marvels
podcast, and I am excited for that because I did like the original trilogy.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one too. What did we all think of Joaquin Phoenix in this film? Did anyone think he underperformed?
No, I think he did. He did pretty well for just playing an American as Napoleon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he did. I think he did well.
Are you making an opinion about or forming opinion about accents in this?
No, like
movie?
I said on the ride over here, I don't give a fuck about accents when it comes to historical movies.
What
That's
was
fine. You don't need it. but
Unless it's not like a harsh like Brooklyn accent or something like that.
What was the So, Dan, you've seen Waterloo. I don't think any of the three of us have.
No.
Cody, have you seen it?
I've seen bits and pieces. Haven't seen the whole
Okay.
movie.
How was the? As we kind of come back to you, what you remember about the Waterloo film, which was the older retelling of Napoleon's life story.
Actually, it was just like
Just
the battle of
just that one?
Yeah, it was just him coming back from exile, right?
Yeah.
And then,
Generally, speaking generally, which of these two films did you like more?
I liked Waterloo better still.
Okay.
I didn't think this movie was terrible, but I was going in with pretty high hopes and left just slightly disappointed, I'd have to say.
You know what? I'm glad I let someone else answer first because that's kind of how I feel about it too.
I still couldn't decide on my own thoughts.
I had a question because I'm like a history buff, but I like World War II and World War I, so I don't know much about his life besides like the major battles, like him invading Russia and Waterloo, like just the key points. Was he accurately portrayed in this movie, Napoleon? Because he seemed how he played him, Phoenix. It was like, I don't know the correct word. He was like
Too emotional?
a little bit, but I don't know the best way to say it. Like, he seemed off-putting or
More
not like all there,
brash
mentally maybe.
I mean, he was kind of brash when it came to like military meetings, wasn't he? He was kind of just straight to the point.
Yes.
So that's like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't really give a shit
Yeah.
how it's portrayed.
Well, Cody, I think so Napoleon's one of your favorite historical figures, right? I mean,
Yeah, he came off like.
yeah,
in
but
my
I'd like to be
mind-
the one to say it.
In my mind, and how I've kind of built him up in my own head, maybe I guess he was just more of like a badass figure.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see more of his military campaign, how he was just dominant throughout his
That's
career,
kind of what I was
but-
expecting too. And the reason what I said like I wasn't expecting is because that first fight, when they climbed the walls, he just seemed panicked the whole time. maybe that's just me thinking that.
Like
but
he was high
breathing heavy.
intensity, high stress.
He was stressed out, it seemed like. And then even the final one, he just seemed like he was
Scared as shit.
like staring off into the sky or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if this is a super accurate portray of him, but it just. I don't know. I was more expecting, like you were saying, Cody, to see this
More like
military
what's
leader
the
who was
word
just
for it?
conquering.
Yeah, more like the quiet reserve type.
Yeah.
Yeah. This character was definitely. I wonder how much
Stoic.
to
I would
what
say.
to what you're saying, Slim. I do wonder how much of this Joaquin Phoenix is kind of bringing to the character
Exactly.
versus what they're pulling from historically to reference. Because
Correct.
at the time, all they had was his writings, right? They didn't have tone of voice. They had testimony from preserved writings and publications at the time. They didn't really have anything to kind of capture his tone, his speech, his demeanor, his quirkiness or lack thereof. So, I mean, yeah, all you really have is Joaquin Phoenix and
Some
Ridley
letters
Scott's
and then
interpretation
your
of the
interpretation
character.
of it.
I appreciate that they brought something in that was a little bit more fun, because there were a few moments
With
in
his relationship with Josephine.
yeah. I mean, I enjoyed that was an important part of the story,
I would say
Yeah,
at least half
he
of
was
it.
obsessed with her.
That's true.
Yeah.
and yeah. So
I don't remember, because historically, wasn't she just like kind of whatever towards him? Like she had multiple lovers.
she was a slut. She was so.
Yeah.
She's played by Vanessa Kirby, and I feel like I've seen her in just a bunch of stuff, but I'm
She
failing.
did a good job.
I'm failing to recall much of what she's in. Mission Impossible, she's in that, and I am failing to. I don't recognize anything else in her filmography. So, and honestly, I didn't even see the Mission Impossible movie, so there's no
So
way
I got nothing.
She does look. She looks incredibly
She looks familiar, but you haven't seen her in anything.
She looks familiar, but I haven't seen her in anything. But
One of them actors, you know.
also a with the exception of Joaquin Phoenix, an incredibly unimpressive cast.
Yeah, there were no real mainstays except for
Didn't
him
recognize anybody.
and Josephine, and then like even like his lieutenants or whatever. They're almost interchangeable with anyone else. Like,
Yeah.
you couldn't really tell. His
except
brother,
for,
his
except
brother
for
was
Mutton
a bit
Chop
of a
guy.
standout.
That guy was
Yeah.
a bro to the end. He was always there.
That's
Yeah.
ironic you should say that, because when Waterloo came out in 1970, it didn't do too well initially. Because everybody said, "Well, who are these actors?" You know,
Yeah.
I know that Christopher Plummer played the Duke of Wellington, and he had the Sound of Music fame, and I can't remember the actor who played Napoleon in that one.
Rod
Steiger.
That's correct.
So, yeah, the character list, I don't recognize any of these actors either, and this is not my time.
Yeah.
So
this is
it's reasonable that I wouldn't recognize. It does have. I mean,
1970. Yeah.
so if we're referencing what's on IMDb as far as like ratings for film, it does have a 7.3, which is actually, at least out of the immediate reviews of this film, or ratings of this film, is slightly higher than the 2023 one that we just watched. Now, there's going to be more reviews. The movie just released, and we saw, I think, maybe in our town, the third showing of it, but on the best screen and the best sound. So we got we went big.
Nothing but the best.
Yeah.
Nothing but the best
For
at
you
Third Party
guys.
Studios. We tell you exactly what we heard. We have 1 billion speakers in this theater and a 1 million-inch screen.
Yep.
It's insane. But I do think that it says something that this one's coming out with kind of a slightly more average rating. And I guess I was hyped, hoping for more battle scenes. I guess
Yeah.
I
I
wasn't.
thought it'd be more of an epic,
Yeah.
mostly focusing on his military career. Because
Like-
it starts out with him. So it starts out with Robespierre basically getting, decapitated. Well, it starts with Marie Antoinette and then Robespierre, but
Let them eat cake.
it starts with him getting a promotion, and then getting an assignment basically to take, what was the town again? Or not the town, but the
This
It was the
to
port.
Stop the revolution right away.
No, it was a port
No.
city.
Oh, it was a port city. Then it was the revolution. Okay. Yep,
This is how
yep.
fickle the French people were around
Yeah.
then. It was a monarchy, then it was revolt,
It was.
and then let's go
there
back
was
to
a lot of
monarchy
rebellions
again, and-
going on.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
yeah,
the rest, his career basically starts though towards the end of the revolution, where they were just eating their own at that point.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, so it was called the Terror for a reason.
It's astutely named.
I cannot see, and I don't remember what the city was. I'm not finding an instant answer
Just
to that
some
question.
port city. The
Yeah.
British had, and then they ambushed them and shot cannons at boats.
But I was a little disappointed as well because I was kind of thinking this was going to take a chunk of story out of his life and hyper focus on it, tell the story, make it an enjoyable like experience revolving around a good story where, you know, the main character learns a lesson or overcomes something. And I understand there's certain liberties you don't want to take with a historical epic, but this was just a biography.
It was.
Halfway through, I was watching this, and I was like, this feels like fucking homework.
The first half felt like that to me. The second half kind of sped up a bit more.
Yeah.
I see that too, but I was like, as they were going through the first half of the film, they were switching between scenes so
much.
frequently.
Right.
And each
like,
scene
this
was
happened,
so
then this happened.
short that I thought this movie was going to... It's a long film. It's like 2.5... It's like 2 hours and almost 40 minutes long. And I just felt like as these little scenes were happening that this was going to be the whole film and it was going to feel like a 4-hour movie. That's what I was feeling because there was going to be no end to these micro scenes, these little scenes. And I mean, eventually they got a little bit easier to like, a little larger and easier to chew on and a little bit more digestible.
I think after when he comes back from Africa is basically when it started to grow more into like an actual film than like point by point.
Yeah.
I found the stuff about his wife cheating on him and just hilarious. I thought it was abject
weird.
comedy. I thought it was just so funny, and the lines they put in it to make
There,
everything right.
there was.
like,
I did have a couple good laughs at that too.
yeah, and I mean, that would just suck. But at the same time, I'm like half a week later, he became emperor. Or as far as like how's it? I mean, not literally, but as it was portrayed in the movie, it
Yeah.
happened nearly instantly afterwards.
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, how old was he when he died?
61, didn't it say?
51, I believe.
Yeah.
51.
5'1". That's a
Let's
lot.
see, he was born in 68, died in
1768,
21.
1821.
Off the top of my head.
And I know we've said this about what movie did we say this? Oh, it was Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And I don't want like every stuff like this not to come out in the theaters, and we need good movies in movie theaters, but I think this had the same problem Oppenheimer did. You could have broke this up into like 4 different 1-hour things if you wanted to do his whole life.
Yeah.
Because it was just too much.
I think
like you were
Oppenheimer was a
saying,
clear told story though
Yes.
throughout the 3 hours.
I agree.
I think I disagree. I mean, it achieved that, but I think what Slim's arguing is, 2020 hindsight, it could have been better received. It could have been better quality film if it was done this way.
And if you want to do it his whole life,
Yeah.
I think you should have, if you want to do like a narrow point, narrow it down, maybe don't. I don't know. I think it was too much of his life if you wanted a movie. And if you want to do his whole
You'd
life, you should
basically
have
just
broke it
be
up.
remaking Waterloo then at that point.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean-
that was a 2-hour movie approximately, and it was just that one
Oh,
battle.
battle.
Yeah, so I feel they bit off a little bit more than they could chew too, trying
Right.
to get too much in there.
Was there anything specifically out of this film that you didn't get? I mean, is there anything about this film that you thought was missing, or did it get, or is it the inverse where it tried to do too much? Because I think you said it, they bit off more than they could chew, but I guess, was there anything you wanted that you didn't get in this film?
Yeah, the epic battle scenes is what I didn't get, and I know that there's more to his life than being a military genius, which he was. In fact, his tactics are still studied today, and
Yeah, like
he was a
him
genius.
conquering, Italy that was pretty some ingenious shit that he was pulling off then. Just outmaneuvering everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, you know, the Duke of Wellington took a page out of his book to defeat him. You know, studied his tactics and used them against him. And actually, what another part of Waterloo that you know, they've mentioned the rain and everything, but that also affected the battle big time because the cannon shells they would sink into the ground before they'd blow up. And then and then instead of having a big blast, it would kind of actually, you know, absorb a lot of that impact.
Just
and
spit her out.
Yeah, and so he was big time. I mean, that's how he started out.
He loved cannons.
Yes, he was. Yeah,
Sure
he
loved
was,
cannons.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
that was kind of his niche.
It
He started
was.
out with artillery.
yeah, you could tell from the very beginning he was very into his cannons.
He was.
And
Very
on-
first thing he said,
But
I need cannons.
One thing I don't understand about the
Give me the
Waterloo
boomstick.
fight, and maybe this is just because they didn't do a good job of explaining it in this film, or maybe this is just my lack of understanding about military tactics in the late 17, early 1800s. Was there a reason is there a reason to ever stop firing those fucking cannons? Because it seemed like they were pretty damn effective if they were hitting people.
very
And then they were just like, 2 volleys is enough. We only brought with us a few thousand
Start
rounds.
walking.
Well, in this one, they were firing pretty much nonstop.
In Waterloo, they only fired like a background volley, then they sighted in, and then they only did 2 volleys against that line, and then they stopped, and then they began their first wave and
They
second
kept
wave
firing the
infantry
whole
march.
time.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
They showed the back by the general, and there's like stuff blowing up all around him.
No, I don't think I saw that. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case.
Am I wrong?
I don't know. I'm going to take the middle ground on this one. There was more than what he said.
It's somewhere in the middle.
You can see clearly that England is still firing their cannons, but they stopped firing for the French. Now, again, this might have been a mistake in the like just the
You're right, though.
setting of the scene, but in military tactics, it seemed to me like once you had all of those men kind of curled into a square formation with the cavalry, you would pull back your cav and just focus fire your cannons and never stop, and just blow. And that just seems to me like, is there something about like the honor of battle that happened in the 1800s, or it's just bad sportsmanship, or it's just, or they were low on ammo and trying to reserve it?
Well,
Like,
what you were just suggesting is like pull back your cavalry. And it's like, all right, cavalry's pulling back. Why would they stay in their fucking squares?
well, they don't need to stay in their they don't need to stay in their formation, but they're out of their trenches.
Blow them up. I get what you're saying. There's got to be a reason.
So
Obviously, I know that's what you're asking, but
Yeah, and then
So-
when the formation, when the British coalition made the squares to specifically, you know, combat the cavalry,
Yeah.
it's because for some reason horses would not try to penetrate that formation, and they would actually turn broadside, and it would be an easier shot.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it seems super effective. Like even in the movie, that's just kind of how they showed it. Yeah.
So I didn't know the history of Napoleon going into this film. I was hoping to get something cool out of it, have a good epic time. And I want to stay on this point, but I don't want to lose track of something else I wanted to bring up. Did anyone else feel a very anti-Napoleon theme from this
Kinda,
film?
yeah. Especially at the end where it's like
He's
all of it,
responsible
he's
for 3
responsible
million
for 3
deaths.
million deaths.
I got like
oh yeah, yeah.
So in the end credits, they're dropping these factoids about the specific campaigns that he was fighting and the amount of casualties that France sustained in the campaigns. Not how many deaths like in total in the campaigns, like including opponents,
Enemies. Yeah.
Just what he is personally responsible for losing on the French military side.
yeah.
And I'm just like, you put a biography together, you told almost his entire like from fame and fortune storyline, and then at the very end you just told us that we were all just watching and cheering for the guy, and he's responsible for 3 million deaths of his own people. And I'm just like, that's fucking war.
Let's you build an empire.
Yeah, yeah.
many
You build an
people you
empire, but
lose.
you only have 2 million lives to lose.
Yeah.
Start with that.
I mean, show it balanced. Show both sides of the casualties, everything.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
It would have been
Anyways,
interesting
I
to
think
see.
they made him out to be more of a clown.
Yeah, and the loss
That's
of
kind of what I was getting at right away. I'm like, was this an accurate portrayal? Because I was like, it just his character didn't seem like he was this mighty military leader. He just
The stoicism in the Battle of Waterloo was more akin to his character, as far as I know from history.
But it really felt like out of
not,
all of
not
his
like the whole, not like when he's charging or anything.
Out
but
of
he's
all
standing in
the
his tent.
out of all the battles that they did show in this film, the Waterloo one was by far like the least inventive. Like fire cannons, push infantry, push cav, push final force. There was nothing creative about
his
just
whole
wasn't.
goal was banking on taking out the Brits before the was it the
Germans
Austrians?
show up.
It was the
basically.
Prussians
arrived.
Yeah, but he didn't pull out a single trick. I mean,
No, I get what you're saying. You're right. He did. He just said, shoot cannons. Now let's walk at them.
was that? I mean, in Waterloo, is it similar? Is that kind? I mean, was it similar, just more epic?
A lot more epic. It showed the everything there. One thing they didn't concentrate on was the old guard, and they had this like mystique atmosphere around them. They were like they could walk on water almost, and but in reality they just weren't used very much. But when they were used, they were put in situations where they were going to succeed. Mm-hmm. And anyway, he sent them in, and when they started getting wiped out and started retreating, it kind of freaked out the whole French army, and the whole French army started retreating at that point. And so
okay.
I mean, there's just this movie really felt like it was missing something, and from Ridley Scott, when it comes to his historical epics, he usually doesn't let down at the end with something spectacular. Like, he usually goes all in on his final battles in his films. But I mean, this really just felt unfulfilling.
They all follow the same path.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you watch Kingdom of Heaven, it's almost the same thing.
Yep.
With like the love interest, and then like the final battles, and how the movie like paces itself. Yeah, Kingdom of Heaven, his Robin Hood movie did the same thing.
Yeah,
It's got a certain way of
but this
doing
felt
historical epics.
this just felt
But it didn't feel that epic.
no.
No. It's a biography, like you said right away, and that's fine. I don't know why and I think it did make it out in the trailers that it was just going to be.
It was going to be.
It was, because I
Yeah.
don't think it, like any part of it, and obviously they make the trailer for us to come watch it, not to show talking scenes, but that's what it felt like. It was going to be fights and epic scenes and that. And
Yeah.
Like, they should have spent less time with Josephine.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, they should add some parts with her, but a bunch of it, I can't think of anything exactly that comes to my mind right now, but like talking about an error maybe that whole time, or them having affairs and like all that. It's like, well, I don't care.
Yeah, it's good fodder for comedy, but that's about all you get out of it. Like, he
It
just
humanizes him more.
yeah,
It's true.
Yeah, they just have a whole scene where they're sitting at a table and like, well, my wife's barren. You can't deliver me a kid. You got one night.
You're
Well,
getting
you're
divorced.
You better spit that baby out tonight or no more.
And it's like, did we really need that? I get it's like you said, it's
Well, I think
some character development with them, but
That's where all the comedy comes from, is their interactions.
it was for sure.
I think the right way to categorize what story this film was telling is not about his military campaigns. I don't even think it's about his love life. While those are both aspects of this film, this movie more revolves around his political career, and everything else is
Yeah.
a consequence attached to that plot line.
But they even kind of brushed over that too, I feel, a
Yeah.
little bit.
It's all
It-
like jumbled mess.
It
really.
feels like that.
was
It feels
kind
like
of a
the
jumbled mess.
yeah.
It's like, all right, we're going to crown you king. And it's like, fuck king, I'm emperor.
Yeah, that
it-
sort of just happened.
Yeah,
It
just
felt
happened.
like three different movies are going on at once, and it just kind of everyone's just like lay it all on each other,
His
and,
military, political, and then his
love.
whore of a wife.
and it's like let's lay them all on each other, and stuff will get just pushed around, and that's what it felt like to me.
Also, if you were Napoleon and you were Emperor of France, is your wife's freaking like lover? Is he living or dead? I feel like
think he'd be dead.
Yeah, I would think he'd be
That's what I
so
said to
murdered.
you.
How is he still alive?
We came back to town and all our stuff was in the lawn. I was like, he's so dead, isn't he? We're gonna see his head somewhere, aren't we?
But he's like, then the guy's like there for the coronation. I'm
Yeah,
just
for
like,
emperor.
dude,
I
as Napoleon's walking away from just having been crowned emperor,
Should've shot
it's like
him.
that guy. He's gotta fucking die like now.
I so thought
You might be
walking down the
critiquing-
aisle backwards when he saw him, I thought he was gonna like turn around and say, point to his guy and like he's gone.
Yep.
You might be critiquing the actual Napoleon at this point because I don't recall ever hearing about him taking out his wife's.
Well, that's
lovers.
the thing. If you're emperor, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be
I
loud.
think she had two.
Oh man, she's such a slut.
Yeah,
She had so many.
What a hope.
two documented ones.
Two dark. It was in
Just
the
the ones
papers.
written down on paper.
It was
Right.
in the papers.
So I know there was that young soldier, and I think there was another one because he was just out and about conquering shit all the time.
I like how she asks him.
She's got a type
We're-
then, huh?
I like how she asked him,
Conquered.
"Did you have affairs?" And he's like,
Of course I did.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Fatties, skinny, old, young, fat.
My
Like,
favorite line in
Oh, I
the
know
movie.
exactly what you're gonna
They
say.
didn't
Mine
cry as
too.
much, so yeah, it was they're a little more attractive.
Were they prettier than me? Well, they didn't cry as much as you, so a little bit.
Ooh,
it helped.
it helped.
They didn't cry
when
as
she-
much.
Or when she was like, "You're gaining some weight." Yeah, you're right. I like to eat food.
This food is good. Yum yum yum. I think
Now go spit out, baby.
That same conversation it was.
also I mean one thing I know about Napoleon, and I know about it in the sense that like a person knows a thing they've never experienced but
The
have been told
dude
it
had
before.
drip, man. I mean, talk about fashion.
I heard this guy was insanely popular.
That's right.
Yeah.
But there was only one scene in the entire movie that really mattered.
Yeah, it was basically like I was hoping they would do it better, but when he comes back out of exile, it's basically the whole army of France is just like, fuck yeah, let's go conquer some shit.
Welcome back, and then they proceed to not win another fight.
Right.
It was really a bummer, man. I enjoyed the film. First, a couple things I want to get out there. The acting I thought was amazing. I don't think they did a bad job acting at all. I think Joaquin Phoenix, I think a lot of the no-name guys, I think all did fine.
Yeah.
The script, I thought the script was good. I think a little bit of levity, light humor in this thing, sprinkled in very, very casually in very small doses and very scattered places, I think was perfectly reasonable. And I think it adds a good atmosphere to it. I guess I just feel like it really under-delivered, and I guess maybe my expectations were too high, but it just felt like the ending was really unfulfilling. Just really left me hanging at the end. And then at the very, very end of it, I got this whole anti-Napoleon vibe from it. It's like, look how let down you are, and then also how many people this guy's responsible for losing on his own side. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, right before he got exiled to Elba, I believe, that other battle that he lost, that when he tried to invade Russia.
A lot of world leaders tend to make that mistake.
Yeah.
In the middle of winter.
Anyway, he
Let's keep going.
was still, a beloved figure. He got to, leave with 1,000 of his best soldiers and go live on this island, and
Sounds like a party.
yeah.
I was under the impression that he was ousted more as like his political opponents were ousting him, and not so much that he failed his campaign. That was more just the ammo they used. I mean, am I off there? I mean, is that pretty on point? Does anyone know?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's always political machinations going on and
Sure.
whatnot, and yeah, using his failure to conquer the Russian army could be, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
going
yeah.
in with 600,000 men and coming out with like 28,
40 or something like that.
28,000
Yeah.
left. Yeah.
There is that.
Well, I mean, how many men did he lose versus how many men did the Russian winter take? Right? I mean,
The
it's,
Russian winter took a lot.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was terrible. That's actually he lost more in that, trying to retreat back, to someplace warmer.
Yeah.
Waited a little too long.
Yeah.
Funny
Trying to follow them to St.
hate to
Petersburg.
roll World War II into this, but the German army didn't learn from that.
Costly mistake.
Yeah, but he was beloved. In fact, when this is once again Waterloo. Sorry, I keep referencing that.
No, that's
but,
why you're here. No, that's why you're here, because you've seen it and you can talk about it.
But he, when he comes back after leaving exile on Elba and comes back, it's true. He was marching, inland, and everybody was, cheering. He was there. Louis the 18th was not a popular king. He was established by the coalition after he was defeated, after Napoleon was defeated in Russia there, and so they did have guns on him and his men. And he walked forward and he basically said, "Hey, leave my men alone. If you want to kill me. I'm right here." And then nobody would take the shot. And then and then they all joined. They all started marching to Paris.
All right, let's go get
And
glory
that's
again.
true. That did happen.
At what point in the entirety of, when you cross these two movies over each other, where does Waterloo begin?
Waterloo begins from when he returns from his exile.
From exile.
Yeah, from Elba.
Okay, got it. Because I'm trying to get a sense of, because Waterloo's a 2-hour movie. There's only about a half-hour difference between the two films as far as length, and so I was curious to see how much of the same story is being told and where the line is. But
There's roughly 55 minutes of this movie was dedicated to after him coming back from exile.
yeah, which is not enough.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know how we'd fix this. It's fundamentally kind of broken at the very end of the film. It's just, it leaves you feeling completely unfulfilled is the best word I've got for this. I just feel like I missed out on a lot that I was really hoping to get. And this is me not knowing much about Napoleon, only I think the cursory public knowledge stuff, and maybe even a little less than the average guy. But I guess to see him lose that way after that much of a time investment into it, and then I don't know why that factoid at the very end of the movie bothers me so much. But
Because it was
It's 'cause
unbalanced.
you haven't hit those numbers yet, bro. You got to really bump up your
Gotta
game.
Bump up them numbers, bro.
Yeah.
Bruh. Fine, I'll get to it.
3. That's it. 3.
I'm not. I'm not. It's at least 6.
I want to get those Mao numbers.
So, how are we rating this movie individually?
I'll start.
Yeah, why don't you run it, Cody?
I'm gonna go with 7.
You think 7's fair?
Yeah, it's enjoyable enough. Probably
Okay.
watch it again down the line, but or maybe not. Just listen to documentaries and stuff, because it builds up the grandiose myth that is Napoleon in my head.
Yeah.
I just like that character more than the one that was
the
portrayed.
one I made up in my brain's cooler.
But like visually, it's good. Music is good.
Yeah.
Set design, all that. It's all good. It's just the storytelling was lacking
Yeah.
at some points.
There's no emotional journey to follow in this story. The part about his wife ends 45 minutes before the movie is over, so there's still a large chunk of film left after his wife passes away, and so you're not following his emotional journey in the love story. His political stuff is completely irrelevant at the end of the movie.
Yeah, after his first time he gets exiled, it doesn't matter anymore.
And-
Well, they don't really.
And the military aspect of his life story, it concludes with a big goose egg.
They don't really explain in the movie either of how ambitious he actually was.
Right.
It makes it seem more like he just fell upon all this without really wanting it, or just like kind of like tripping into success.
Yeah, it kind of did seem like that.
Yeah.
That was a very good way to put that. I was trying to come up with the right
Right.
right
He
word.
was
Yeah, but
very ambitious from a very young age.
and they, like you said, and a lot of his mannerisms in the film, made him almost seem like a little bit of a buffoon. And
It did.
Yeah.
And
That's kind of what I was getting at the beginning. It felt like he was just lost in space.
Well, he was from Corsica, and Corsicans weren't really considered French when he was like his father held some some court or whatever.
yeah, they were his family was actually Italian historically,
Right.
and they were some sort of noble. And then
Right. and he wanted to be considered French so fucking badly. He's like, I will do anything. And
What was
then-
it? France
I will get
Army
3 million people killed.
Josephine.
And then he was like trying to go up in the ranks. He was ambitious to like kind of prove that like he was French, I guess, instead of just being considered a Corsican. But
All right. Slim, you want to run with yours?
I think I would rate it like a 7.5. I don't think I hyped it up as much as you guys, but the film seemed lost in direction. Like I said earlier, if it was like a 5-hour, 1-hour mini part series, I think it could have flushed out his whole life, or you needed to.
I'd take a 5-part series of his military
Yes.
campaigns with this kind of
Yes.
budget behind it.
It's an Apple Movies film, which
Yeah.
I thought was weird because I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is the first one I've ever seen on the big screen,
Yeah, I think
First
so
one
too.
I've seen.
which is interesting because I've been making the point that streaming services that are making their own projects should put them on the big screen, and this might have
You
proved
did.
me wrong.
You did. You have been arguing that. That's right.
We will see
So Apple's
with
smart.
the weekend numbers.
Yeah.
Because I saw the theater wasn't quite that full, but it's also the day before Thanksgiving.
and
true.
the lesser popular of the two theaters in our area.
True.
So Slim, you 7.5, but you think it would have performed better as a mini series with more?
Yes.
I get that.
Or pluck some irrelevant details out of the movie.
So your opinion on this is quite similar to your opinion on Oppenheimer. Is that
Yes.
pretty fair to say?
It's because I like documentaries and I like stories about interesting people, but they don't flush them out enough.
I
'Cause
gotta
they
say,
gotta rush them because they're movies.
I really am. I'm really just getting. You know what, Dan? I'll let you kind of run with your thoughts on this, your rating, and then if you have any additional thoughts to add, for I guess Napoleon, and then if you had an opinion on Waterloo, I'd like that too.
I thought you leaned forward to read what the title was.
I give it a 6.5. I mean, the movie had some good moments. I did like a little bit of the comic relief in there. I just didn't like how, like I'll say it again, they made him look a little bit like a clown. I didn't like that. That took a little bit away from me. I just feel, in reality, if he was really like that, I don't think he'd just have that magnetic leadership that people just were drawn to.
Right. You don't get the support of an empire being a fucking clown.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Are
Your
you?
troops don't want to follow you.
I think you had mentioned it'd been a minute since you had seen Waterloo, but do you have? How do you stack this up against Waterloo?
I still like Waterloo better.
Okay.
We'll never have another movie like Waterloo. I mean, they literally every soldier in that movie was real. There obviously was some CGI in this one. It's just the way films are made now.
Yep.
Yeah, the amount of extras and horses and stuff that were all on camera during the Battle of Waterloo in the 1970 film.
16,000
It's insane.
Russian
The
soldiers
coordination was
were used.
Was
Used in the
Wow.
making of that movie. And
The
so
logistics are crazy.
yeah.
Well, you don't need to coordinate 16,000 people. You just need to coordinate the people in the perimeter of the 16,000 people to kind of keep them where you want them.
Don't downplay
Idiot.
this. That's
Dumbass.
nuts.
Dumbass.
And ironically, that movie was filmed in Ukraine, where
Oh, nice.
Nice, man. They have a lot of stuff going on. They have a lot of battle going on over there.
yes,
You could probably get a bunch of extras right now if
Yeah.
you flew just a drone overhead. Be like, get some B-roll footage for a war film. Okay, so I'm gonna give my 2 cents on this, and then I have a question for the group that I don't really know if it's. I got a vibe out of this film, and I wanted to ask you guys if it's valid or justifiable. I'm giving this movie a 6. I do think the acting was right where I was hoping it would be. I thought the acting was really good. I did think the script was good too. I thought the writing made sense to me. I liked that they sprinkled a little humor in this. I think without it, this movie would have been dry. I think this movie would have been very, very hard to watch if you didn't have at least those small moments of comedy in this film. I didn't really appreciate that it was a hard biography that went so... It covered so much and none of the nuances of any of it, which I thought was very frustrating.
Yeah, it covers about, 30-some years?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would have a difficult time recommending this movie in theaters to people as it is right now. I just felt like incredibly unfulfilled at the very end of this film. I just there wasn't any emotional moment to grab onto. All of the storylines in this film wrapped up, I think, poorly. And while I did enjoy the film getting to the end, I just felt completely unfulfilled at the very end of this. And so I think I think a 6. I think a 6.5 if I'm being generous, but I don't believe that for a nearly 3-hour investment into this film, for it to leave you hanging with those endings, I think is unacceptable.
Yeah, they didn't go into, he butted heads with a lot of his higher-ups in the military, too, when he was coming up.
I didn't see that once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah,
They all thought he was
I didn't
just
know
kind of
that.
like this dumb Corsican kid.
Yeah. I
He
think
was
that...
given, less troops, and he did more with them. And
Yep.
risen
You got to
through
do
the
less.
ranks.
You got to do less with more. I mean, more with less.
Whichever
Um,
one floats
Uh-huh.
your boat.
Yeah.
So I was feeling a lot of this. I was hearing a lot of the same language that people not to bring this into politics, but I was hearing a lot of the same language that people use to describe Trump to describe Napoleon. Did anyone else pick up on that, or is that completely wrong?
I didn't pick up on that.
No, me
Okay.
neither.
Because
Nah.
especially so the British guy at the very end of it was saying how he's very popular, but it's because he's conning people, and he's a tyrant, and he can't be allowed, and we let him get away with it, and not this time, 2024 Biden. No, you guys didn't hear that line in the movie?
No,
I
missed
heard
that
it.
No,
one.
the 2024 part, I didn't hear that part.
No,
Oh, okay.
me neither.
It would have
No,
felt pretty out of place in the
There are obviously
1800s.
people in power that would be like, yeah, fuck this guy, let's get rid of him, and we'll say whatever.
It felt like that was a parallel they were trying to draw, and that's how I took it. But clearly, I was seeing something that wasn't there. So I'll just let that die and just acknowledge that I am wrong.
The way the movie portrays it, it seems like it's very easy to start an empire.
Oh man,
Yeah, I think I could do it tomorrow.
Yeah, it only takes
Bro.
like 2 hours.
Right.
bro, we can barely make a successful YouTube channel. But
We're not
doing
doing
it.
it right.
We're doing it. All right. Anyone have any final thoughts as we're wrapping this one up?
No.
Nah, but I kind of want to watch more on the French Revolution now leading up to it.
I'm just gonna watch.
Gonna watch
paint-
10
one
hours
thing,
of YouTube
one thing they
videos
didn't
tonight.
one thing they didn't even bring into at all is he made some significant reforms that not in France that
Oh, yeah.
are being mimicked even to this day in every major democracy.
Like for instance, just for example, because I'm not familiar with these.
Like civil liberties and stuff. He was granting to the average citizen, and that's the main one I can think of there.
Didn't they set the current metric system? I think he did.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they set in place the current metric system that's based off the qubit, which is based off of another thing. But the metric system used today was in Napoleon's time. I'm pretty sure on that one.
That sounds made up.
Well,
I can't
who
deny it,
knows?
but
What the hell are you Googling?
Nothing. Don't worry about
Do you
it.
even know how to spell?
Well, so I was kind of curious if how relevant was what was going on in the States with the War of 1812 and everything like that to Napoleon and France? I mean, obviously
well,
it was
started before that with the revolution, 'cause
Right.
That bankrupted France, and
yeah.
that
But
started the revolution.
I was just curious
got,
if Napoleon had I was
Yeah,
just
do
curious.
we want to do a whole history lesson on this?
No, I was just curious if, because they didn't mention it at all in this film, I was just curious if Napoleon never set his sights west. Like it didn't seem like he took the West into interest at all in this film, and I was curious if there was stuff that he actually cared about when it comes to what was going
had
on.
more in common with the Americans, because obviously he hated Britain.
We all hate Britain, okay?
all-
I get it. We all hate
It's,
England
it's
and
a
Britain.
Team.
Yeah.
It's the world against Britain.
Yep, it's one team, one dream.
Shulking up on them.
Down with the redcoats.
Dumb boats in their tea.
Yeah. You think you're so great because you have boats.
Oh, yeah, you turned to me. You're just like,
was
why don't they
funny.
just dump all
That
their
was
tea
funny.
into the
I
harbor?
like
That's
that
what
line.
we did.
That's what we did. It worked out great.
All right. I think that's probably a good place to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Third Party Podcast. Really appreciated you guys coming along for the ride on this one with us. It's been a long time coming. We've been looking forward to Napoleon. If you guys do watch the movie, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed. Smash the subscribe button and share the notification bell. I got all of those wrong.
We did it.
In sequence. But you've heard it all before, so you don't need me to get
You
it
know what's
correct.
going on.
Just do it.
But all right, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys so much again. We love you all. Peace.
Bye.
Meh.